Hey guys, and welcome to the first episode of DSPORT. My name is Nat and I'm the host of this podcast. So today we're going to be discussing a bit more of a serious topic regarding the effects of sports injuries beyond just the physical impact. So we're going to be touching base on the mental impact of injuries and coping methods and advice for those who may be currently experiencing trauma associated with an athletic injury. In the world of sport, injuries are often inevitable, with the physical harm and suffering associated with a serious injury often having mental impacts. And there's no doubt that this can really impact young athletes specifically, because commonly young athletes are trying to improve and excel in their sport, so to be knocked back by an injury can be really traumatic. So joining me today for this podcast is my good friend Maddie Dangerfield, who used to play local netball and just happened to have an ACL injury, not once but twice, all within the space of 15 months. So welcome to the podcast, Maddie.
Thanks for having me.
So for those who don't really know, an ACL injury is a severe knee injury where is the muscle completely torn? Or?
Yeah, you can just sprain it, but I completely tore mine both times.
Yeah, so not the best result there, but and in particular I feel like this type of injury is really concerning amongst young people, because would it be harder to kind of get back on your feet after an injury like that?
Yeah, and especially for younger people that are still developing, so even young juniors that are playing netball in any sports really, still developing, and so it makes recovery even harder.
So basically, your first injury was on the netball court, and then your second injury was also on the netball court.
Yes.
So not a good run, but so can you kind of revisit back to your first injury and how it happened and kind of how you were feeling after that?
So when you kind of tear your ACL, it's normally from directional changes, and mine literally was that the first time. I was running one direction, went to dodge, and I felt my whole knee kind of pop out, basically. And it was instantly, because I'd seen people do it in the past, I kind of knew what I was in for from the very moment that it happened. And for me, it was pretty much just devastating. Of course, it was painful, but because I knew what was coming, I think that was the worst part of doing it at all.
Yeah, so it would have happened, and then did you kind of know straight away that it was something a bit more serious that would keep you sidelined for a bit?
Yeah, I'd been injured quite a lot in my years playing netball, and this one just instantly felt more serious. And I didn't know that it was an ACL, but I definitely knew that it was a severe knee injury, and knowing that knees take such a long time to repair and rebuild, I was already trying to prepare myself for that.
Yeah. So then your second injury was also on that same knee. So it would have taken you a while to kind of rebuild yourself and get back onto the court, and only to injure it again. What was going through your mind?
Yeah, I think because this time, from the moment that it happened, I obviously knew it was an ACL. I had the exact same sensation and the same pain and all that sort of thing. And for me, it was just devastating to know that I'd just worked hard for 12 months to get back, and I had fully committed to my rehab and done everything that I could have possibly done for it to go within 3 months of being back. So to be honest, it was quite a hard time, because I knew what was coming, and I would have rather not known the process. And especially the second time, I did more damage to other ligaments as well in my knee, which obviously I didn't know initially, but as soon as I found that out, it was kind of why? Because I had worked so hard. But then it was knowing that with dedication, I can get back, because I'd done it before. So I did know it was possible to recover and to get back into it. But having that happen so quickly after the first time, it did put a lot of doubt into why I should even kind of bother.
Yeah.
Because even when I did, it didn't work. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the thing with injuries as well is you would have had to take time off work. Sidelines, you wouldn't obviously be able to play netball.
Yeah.
So you did you feel a bit isolated during the whole ordeal?
It impacts your whole world. Obviously I was straight out of work. I deferred uni because I couldn't actually drive myself there. And my mum had to take time off work to look after me, because you can't even take yourself to the toilet. So you need help with basic everyday things, which just makes you feel pretty isolated, pretty lonely. Living a bit out of town too was hard. you know, everyone else's lives carry on and yours is kind of on hold for a while. So it was very isolating. It was quite, I would definitely say that like there was definitely depression like stages throughout recovery, especially the second time. The first time I was kind of always optimistic, but that second time when you're doing it all again and, you know, everyone's kind of like, oh, that happened again, poor you.
You're like,
and then they continue, you know, they continue on, which is fair enough. I get everyone's lives are busy, but it was very isolating and more of a mental battle than a physical one.
Yeah, for sure. Because I feel like obviously straight up when you think of an injury, you think of physically how it's injured someone, but it goes a lot beyond that, and it can really affect kind of psychologically how you feel and how you back yourself even to get better. So how long was the kind of rehabilitation process of kind of restoring and getting back on track?
Yeah, so for like an ACL, to get it kind of back fully, it's normally a 12-month process before you're allowed to. Well, for me, that it was going to be 12 months to get back to playing netball. I'm actually around now the second time, 12 months on, but I definitely couldn't play netball at this stage. So it just comes up with, you know, different obstacles come up. Rehab, like I have fully committed to, but it just depends. Things can come and happen that you don't expect, and they set you back. Even little things like once I fell over, and it just, you know, you jar it again and you're back 2 months in rehab, so you can't always predict when you're going to get back, but it should be a 12-month process. But then for professional athletes, you know, they can sometimes be back out there within 8 months because they're seeing physios every day, that sort of thing. But
it's a bit different because, like, obviously through like local athletes and athletes that aren't at the professional kind of level, you don't have that support of having physios and medics and everything around with you. Exactly. So it'd be a lot harder because you don't have that support system to help you get back quicker at its quickest.
Yeah, and it's expensive. It's very expensive to be doing rehab and to be going to gyms every day, to be, you know, accessing your rehab programs and checking in. And so like professionals have that kind of at their workplace every day, so it's a bit different for people like me.
So how would you kind of, in a nutshell, sum up how you felt during having these injuries? Like, obviously a lot negative than positive, but
I think like I tried to stay really positive purely because I knew that if you let yourself feel any negativity, which obviously you do feel it, but if you really tap into that, then that's all you're going to feel. So I just tried to surround myself with people as much as I could, and really dive into my rehab to purely help, mentally knowing I was doing everything I could to help it. So there was nothing else I could be doing. So every day you just work at it and just trying to keep that positive mindset. But definitely didn't come without days where I didn't want to do it and didn't understand why. But I know it sounds cliche, but the positive thinking was honestly all you can do for yourself. So
yeah, for sure. So kind of what kind of methods, you said like staying positive and positive thinking, and that helped to assist managing your injury? Was it maybe having a good support system around you, like family and friends, or even just like getting out of the house occasionally so you're not feeling like you're bedridden or something?
It was definitely keeping busy, whether that meant getting people to come to me, then picking me up because obviously I couldn't drive, so taking me out and literally trying to do as many normal daily activities as you could. Even little things like doing the washing and stuff was actually an achievement because I got myself to that point, like, you know. So it was just trying to keep busy, and obviously I have such good family and friends around me, especially like knowing how much sport was important to me. They were all very understanding and very helpful in any, like, whenever I called them, they were there. So you definitely need that support base.
And you said then that like how sport was so meaningful to you and it meant so much to you. I suppose having an injury kind of rips that away from a part of you in a sense as well, because you can no longer do something that you love. So
I found that really hard, and I still do now because I obviously can't play netball at the moment, and potentially not for a long time. And it's hard because I feel like I haven't chose to let it go. It's been forced out of my hands, which is always a hard thing I just love it. Like, it was such a big part of my life. It always has been. But yeah, when it's kind of taken and you don't choose to let it go, it always is a bit hard. It's hard to handle.
Yeah, because it's one of those things, like obviously injuries really can't be prevented. Like if they happen, they kind of happen, and sometimes, like a lot of the times, injuries are out of your control.
Yeah.
So I guess, what did you find kind of most challenging about coping with a serious injury like this?
I think just the isolation was a big thing, and the fact that, you know, thankfully not many people have done their ACL, so not a lot of people could relate and could understand that how long a process it was, and how even little things like how not working impacted your mental health and all that stuff. You feel like you can't provide for yourself and you're not able to do anything. So I think that was the isolation was just the hardest thing.
Yeah, for sure. And when people aren't experiencing what you're experiencing, it's hard for people to relate because they don't know.
Yeah.
And
they say they kind of understand, which I get, that they're doing everything that they can, but then they can still go home and, you know, do their daily routine the next day, which I'm still at home on the couch. So it was, you know, just hard that way.
Yeah.
But people are obviously so thoughtful, and I honestly do feel for you, but it's just hard when you do feel like you're in it alone and there's no one kind of there constantly. Yeah.
So, kind of, what advice, to kind of sum things up, would you give to someone who is maybe suffering a sports injury at the moment, or knows somebody suffering a sports injury? What kind of would you say to them?
I think it honestly is just, I can say commit to your rehab, but with every injury, I know that's not possible. But it's, you know, even if your injury's rehab is to rest, it's kind of, you have to do it. I know, like when I was younger, I would kind of, you know, if someone told me to rest an injury, I wouldn't, and I'd kind of, you know, push through it and stuff like that. And you kind of think you're better than your injury a lot of the time. But my biggest advice is commit to your rehab, because it works and it's there for a reason. And if you're committed to that and you're doing that every day, you're doing all you can. So that's all you can keep reminding yourself is, I'm doing everything I can, like I'm putting everything into it. So it's just time that, has to follow that. But so commit to that, and get that support base around you, and talk to people. I think a lot of people build it up. And it's more of a mental thing, I think, than physical. And to build that up in your head and not express how you're feeling, really just sets you up for a really tough time.
So I think that's about it, and I'm just going to say thank you for Maddie for joining me today, and thank you for anyone listening. I look forward to the next podcast. I'm not sure what it will be about just yet, but until then, I'll see you guys later, and thanks for listening.